Hi guys! Before I get into the contents of today's video, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment with any critiques, questions, or suggestions. In today's video, I'm going to be crocheting a Pokemon. In particular, I'm going to be crocheting Flareon. I've been super excited to put this video out, so I hope that you guys enjoy. I'm going to be taking you through the entire process of how I made this, so with that said, let's jump right in. So this is the yarn I'm going to be using for the Flareon. These two are the same. I'm just going to try to finish this up. And then I have this for his fluffy parts. I actually have this because I just finished this guy. I have been on a bit of a crochet kick lately. I will link the pattern that I found for this one as well because it was a really, really well done pattern, as you can see. But for our Flareon, this is the pattern I'm going to be using. It's from 53 stitches, and I'm going to link this as well. I found this pattern and the Charmander pattern both on Pinterest. They actually have all of the evolutions on here as well. She links the other ones at the bottom. So yeah, this is going to be the one that we are doing. Here's the material list, and they have the whole pattern just right here at the bottom. So we're going to get started and see how this starts. Okay, so I just started it off. We're starting with the magic ring, which is pretty standard for these kind of plush patterns. I'm going to be using a 3.75 millimeter hook. This yarn recommends between 3.5 and 4.5, but especially when the pattern is made for thinner yarn, I just like using this smaller hook, and then I also feel like I'm using less yarn because I'm always scared that I'm not going to have enough for the project. I finished up using all the yarn and it's made me an ear and a half. Yeah, we're going to do the head and we're going to see how that comes out, and then I'm going to show you guys. So I just got to work crocheting the head. This was probably the easiest part of the entire thing because it was pretty much just a round shape. I think even though this is technically the largest crocheted part, it only took me under an hour. I just finished up the head. I'm gonna be honest, I'm having a hard time seeing anything but a Charmander right now, but we're gonna keep going, and I think once I add the fluff in the ears, it will start to look more like a Flareon. So on to the body. The body also wasn't very difficult. It was really just a smaller version of the head, but I am ranking it slightly harder than the head because I had to change colors in it. Alright, I have finished the head and the body, and this is kind of what they're looking like. Next, I think, is the arms. Let me turn around. There we go. Now it's beautiful. The pattern itself for the arms wasn't really too difficult. However, they were small and I had to make 2 of them, so I would say that they were more difficult than the head and the body. I'm not a huge fan of crocheting small things, so props to the people who can do the micro crocheting. While I was at it, I also crocheted the legs. They were a little bit bigger than the arms, so they were slightly easier. Okay, so I finished both the arms and the legs. So far we have the head, the body, the arms, and the legs. The last part that I have to do in orange is the ears, but this is all the orange that I have left after doing all of that. I'm a little bit worried that this is not going to be enough yarn to do both ears, but I'm going to try to make one, see how far it goes, and if it's not enough, maybe I can adjust the pattern a little bit. I really don't want to order more of this yarn because I already bought more of this yarn for this. Well, actually, I bought more of this yarn for the Charmander, but then I had extra to do this, so I'm really hoping that I can do something with this that will be enough. So let's find out. I had a feeling when I looked at the pattern that this was not going to be enough to make both ears, but I thought I'd give it a try anyway. As the foreshadowing showed at the beginning of this video though, it was not enough yarn. Okay, so I finished up all the yarn. I made one ear. I edited the... So I just finished up using all the yarn and it's made me an ear and a half. And this is with me cutting out half of the pattern for the ear. This thing is supposed to be twice as big. So I don't know how this is gonna look when it's together. My plan now to get more yarn to finish this one is to stitch everything together because I left a lot of excess yarn. So my plan is to stitch everything together and then use the yarn that I didn't need for stitching to finish this ear. So we're gonna see how that goes. Okay, so my plan worked. I have the second ear. Again, I cut out some of the rows from the pattern to have enough yarn to do this, so they are smaller than they are in the original pattern. And see if I have any fabric to add the blue parts to the ear, and then just continue with where the pattern takes me. The next part of the pattern was the tail, and this is actually the last part that I need to crochet. I've been having a lot of fun crocheting, and I would love to turn this into a series, so if there's a Pokemon you want to see me crochet, let me know. Okay, I have all the crocheting done. The body is assembled minus the ears and the tail. The next step is to start with the fluffy parts. So I realized that I actually cannot use this same fluffy yarn for this because the technique used to make it fluffy requires worsted. This. So I actually went to the dollar store and I picked up this yellow. I think this is actually going to make the Flareon look more like a Flareon. I feel like this is a closer color, so I'm very happy about this choice. So we are going to follow the pattern and take this and see how this works. How this technique works is you cut strips of yarn and then you tie them into each stitch around where you want it to be fluffy. I doubled up because I used thicker yarn for the pattern, so there was more surface to cover, and I actually went back later on and added even more on top of that because I felt like it wasn't really covering enough, so you do need a good amount of yarn to really cover the surface. After you got all the yarn in place, you brush it out to basically untangle it and make it fluffy. They recommend using a comb or a pet brush. I had neither, so I tried a couple of different things that did not really work until I landed on this eyebrow brush. It worked, but it did take a very long time. I got better at it as I went through the pattern, but starting this tail initially, I think it took me over an hour to even get it to a place where I thought it was good, and then I still went back and brushed it more later. This is what it looks like after I had originally finished it. Like I said, I do go back and add some more yarn, and I do brush it a little bit more. They recommend putting some hairspray to keep it in place. I didn't really want to do that. I didn't have any hairspray on me, so there are times when it's moving around, you can see the tail underneath, but it doesn't really bother me. So this is where we're at, and this is where I decided that I did not like the placement of the limbs. So I made the risky choice of removing all the limbs. This is risky because I had used the same color yarn to attach it, so there was risk of me actually cutting the stitches instead of what was attaching it, and I think at one point I did, but I was able to fix it. And also I was completely out of this orange yarn, so I was gonna have to use different yarn to reattach it, and I didn't know how that would look in comparison to using the same yarn. You can kind of see my first couple of stitches, but I got the hang of it till I could hide them, and I don't know, I don't really know if it made a huge difference that it was worth doing, but this is what it looked like after versus before, so you can let me know which one you liked better. The next thing I did was attach the tail. While I was filming this, my husband was actually also filming a YouTube video on the other side of the room.
Mom! I don't want that. Leave me alone. Oh, don't make me go find the dad. Now, where are the horrors beyond my imagination? Who's playing that piano?
This is what it looks like with the tail attached. The next step was to attach the ears. Upon looking at the ears with the now mostly assembled body, I realized they were just way too small. I just did not like the way that they looked. So I had an idea. I had seen this YouTuber who does a lot of crocheting and a lot of things with squishmallows. She's done some projects where she's mixed sewing or mixed fabric with crochet, and I thought that maybe I'd be able to make an ear in this way. So I took a t-shirt and I cut it up, and my idea was to create the shape of the ear using this blue that would be the inner ear, and then poke holes around it and crochet around the holes to create the orange on the outside. And my husband was still filming his video during this as well.
I can't burn the giraffes. Burn the giraffes. What? Don't whisper in my ear like the Green Goblin mask. No, I'm burning them. I'm not burning them.
Are they burning it? This is how the ears came out. The only thing I didn't think about was the back. You can also see the blue, and that's supposed to be the inner ears, so that wasn't really going to work. My first solution was to take the leftover yarn from crocheting around the ears and try to kind of weave it in between the stitches to cover the back. This did not really work, however, so my next solution was to cut some more fabric from the t-shirt and then just paint it orange. I'm not super great at color matching, so the orange turned out a little bit darker than the orange of the yarn. I still think it looks better than having the blue on the other side though, and doing this actually added some stiffness to the ears, so they stay up a little bit better on the plush. Okay, so the back part of the ears are drying. While they do that, we're gonna take a break from the ears and we're gonna go on to the fluff around the neck. I'm assuming it's gonna be a similar technique to the tail, but we will find out. I was correct, this was the exact same process as the tail, attaching the yarn all the way around where it needed to be fluffy and then brushing it out. I also used the same technique for the fluff on the top of the head, and after that it was time to attach the ears. I did just go with hot glue for this because I really didn't want to deal with trying to sew through the painted fabric because it's stiffer and harder, and it would have been very difficult to try to get the needle through, so I did just settle and use hot glue for this. The last thing that I wanted to do was actually not in the pattern, but I wanted to try to embroider him a little nose. I'd done a little bit of research and practicing with embroidering on crochet for another project, so I felt pretty confident that I could do a little nose. And just like that, he was all done, so here's how he came out. This project was definitely a lot more involved than I expected it to be when I started, but it was super fun getting to try some new techniques, and I think in the end he came out pretty good. Time to add him to the current collection. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I would love to make this a series, so comment down below which Pokemon you'd want to see me crochet next. And as usual, I have no idea what the next video is going to be or when it is going to come out, but whatever it is and whenever it does, I hope to see you then. Bye!